So I'm going to be doing a short introduction into what exactly VMware Carbon Black is and what sort of features does it have, and how you and your clients can maybe benefit from it. So I'm going to be sharing my screen in a second. All right, so VMware Carbon Black. So the security challenges that it addresses are pretty much the same as any other security vendor addresses. So we probably have different teams working on different sort of things, meaning that some teams focusing on endpoint protection workload, cloud stuff, networking, identity management, and so on. So those are pretty much the same that Carbon Black focuses on as well. So we have endpoint services team, infosec team, DevOps probably, also including all the container stuff and so on, networking team, infrastructure team, and all of those fields are addressed by Carbon Black.
Martin, you're on mute.
Okay, was I on the mute the whole time or?
No, just a couple of seconds.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thanks. So yeah, we have VMware Tanzu NS6 focusing on network security or network virtualization and security. Then we have Workspace ONE with UEM things, and also VMware vSphere, which is cloud computing virtualization or local cloud. So today, yeah, we're going to be going through VMware Carbon Black and what it exactly is. The way I've built this presentation is how I don't use the regular VMware slides mostly. I put together my own, but the reason for that is that initially when I was trying to focus on Carbon Black and what it composes of and what it includes, I was having quite a hard time figuring out all the different packages and so on. Although the information is out there, but to get it all into one place was, at least for me, a bit difficult. So we're going to be looking at kind of a newbie perspective in a way. So yeah, the approach of Carbon Black, or what it focuses on, is once again the usual security management stuff to harden, prevent, detect, and respond, including having next generation antivirus and EDR and even enhanced EDR to do those things. And VMware Carbon Black Cloud itself, it contains multiple different products in itself, and it is kind of spread around different packages. So we have growing from left, audit and remediation, vulnerability management, Kubernetes hardening, which is container, VMware Carbon Black container, device control, as mentioned, next generation antivirus, and EDR products as well. So first off, we have cloud endpoint standard. The products that I'm focusing on over here, there are a couple of others which I'm going to mention, but those are not really relevant in our market. Over here, first off is cloud endpoint standard, and it consists of next generation antivirus and EDR. And what exactly is next generation antivirus and EDR, or any other things that are going to pop up over here? We're going to go through them one by one in a bit. So after endpoint standard, we have endpoint advanced, which also includes vulnerability management and audit and remediation. Once again, what those things exactly are, we're gonna go through them in a bit. Then we have Cloud Endpoint Enterprise, which also includes Enterprise EDR. As you can see, EDR is included in all of the packages, but Enterprise EDR, which is a bit different, is included in the Endpoint Enterprise. Then we have Cloud Workload Essentials, and this on top of the vulnerability management and audit and remediation also includes workload inventory and lifecycle management. When next generation antivirus EDR, vulnerability management and audit and remediation, and also enterprise EDR, they are kind of a separate products in themselves. Then workload inventory and lifecycle management is not really kind of a bundled product or a product with that kind of name. That's the say common title for multiple things which are included in the workload essentials package. After that, we also have Cloud Workload Advanced, which on top of essentials stuff includes next-gen antivirus and EDR. And of course, Enterprise, which extends with Enterprise EDR. And besides all of those mentioned packages, we also have Carbon Black Cloud Container, which is purely for securing containers and Kubernetes applications. And it also increases visibility into Kubernetes environments, and you can scan container image vulnerabilities and so on. And those things all combined make up the Carbon Black Cloud Services. So these are almost all of them are SaaS products, except EDR, the regular EDR, which is essentially, it can be on-premises or hosted by VMware, but it's not software as a service as all the other ones are. Then out of the cloud services box, we have app control, and app control is on-premises thing purely. And it does exactly what its name states. It's for endpoint application control and management. And as mentioned, along with EDR, it is on-premise solution. So from now on, we're going to focus on endpoint bundles. Those were the first ones that we went through, the standard, advanced, and enterprise. And we will go through what exactly are their features and what they do. Along with those standard, advanced, and enterprise packages, there's also endpoint prevention, which wasn't mentioned in my previous slides, but it's not really all that relevant in our market. It seems like it consists of only next generation antivirus, and it was made for more for budget oriented markets and not really for our needs over here. I would say that endpoint standard is the package that we should start from in our region. Yeah, so those are the ones we are going to focus on. And also there's a couple of add-ons from which that our intention is the one relevant to us. There's some others, but they are for mainly focusing on US market. So we're not going to be touching upon those things. So first off, next generation antivirus, what it is exactly. So I'm going to be having on the left the list of all the things that are included in the cloud endpoint. Never mind the package, either standard, advanced, or enterprise. Those are the things that are included in each or some of them, and we're going to be going through what are the functionalities of them. So first off, next generation antivirus, and it is what makes antivirus next generation. it seems like the main thing is that there's loads of new type of attacks happening, and the next generation antivirus is extending on regular antivirus in ways that it can also detect malware, which is not file based or in a sense regular. And the good example would be that it seems like most of the attacks these days they are not really regular or file attacks in a way, so that they usually reside in system registry, the code or the malware itself, system registry, or in memory processes, or for example Windows service areas. What it means is that, for example, if you run some malicious code from some sort of website, it doesn't create any files for you into your computer, so that you don't really have any way to detect the malware files. It injects something into your services or system registry and so on. But how all this next generation antivirus works with Carbon Black is that we have this thing called sensor, which is essentially they don't really want to name it client per se, but it's just, it still is a small client for each endpoint, and it does in a way everything, meaning that for every single functionality, the next gen AV or EDR or vulnerability management or any other things, you don't need multiple sensors or clients. So it's pretty much one size fits all, and it does everything in regards of Carbon Black Cloud or Carbon Black Endpoint. And for security reasons, the communication in between the management console or Carbon Black Cloud itself and the sensors is not happening all the time or real time, and it happens once every minute, and it's always initiated by sensor. So this is how the Carbon Black Cloud console looks like, and in regards to next generation antivirus. And over here you can see pretty much all the regular stuff as with any other console. You can see your overview of your endpoints, what sort of malware or attacks are happening. You can also see the Lockheed Martin initiated or developed 6 stages of attack, recon, weaponize, so on, and in which stage you have some of the endpoints or just discovered malware based on their behavior, in which attack stage they are probably on. So yeah, you can see the dashboard overview over here. Then we have the investigate page. So this is the basic search across your endpoints. And you can, in this example, the search has been done for all the files and all the processes tied to those files. You can see there's a search for asterisk. So it means that everything is shown over here, and you can sort and filter it in whichever way you want. You can sort it by processes, usernames, devices, yeah, whichever way you find fit. Then over here we have policy management. Yeah, you can assign all sorts of rules and policies to your endpoints. And policies over here, for example, on this picture, there's signature updates policies, how frequently they are asking for updates, and how is the staggered update randomization set up. The last one means that for data load or spreading the load purposes, it's not like when you have, let's say, 1,000 endpoints that all of them are going to ask the updates at the same time and are going to get them at the same time. So over here in this setting, it means that those 1,000 endpoints, they're going to be spread across, say, 4 hours and they randomly get their updates within that 4 hours. Yeah, as mentioned, there are also rules. There's permission type rules and also blocking and isolation type rules. So yeah, rules are pretty simple. You can, allow some sort of operations or applications or just deny them. And permission type rules always take precedence over blocking and isolation type rules. And blocking and isolation type rules, as the name states, you can block and isolate stuff. Alerts, they're created by Carbon Black Analytics engine, and you can respond to those alerts. Either you can quarantine the machine, ban an application, delete an application, or do a live response with live remediation. I'm going to be having a screenshot over here, which shows how the live response is done as well. Yeah, here you can see the live or the alerts page, and there's 5 results which are shown over here, and these are the ones which are, go through the filters that you've set. And on the right, you can see the detail view of this particular alert that you have selected, and you also have those remediation possibilities over here. You can, as you can see, you can delete the application or quarantine the device or do a live response. Quarantining the device, it means that it isolates the endpoint from almost all of network traffic. It means that only communication in between endpoint and Carbon Black, central management is allowed. All the other traffic is blocked. And live response, we'll get to that in a second. But when you have selected one of the alerts, you can also see what has happened or what is this alert all about. So over here in this example, you can see that there was explorer.exe, and it initiated a couple of other or started some applications, one of them being iExplore, which is Internet Explorer, another one, some other, I don't know, random stuff. But the point is that you can see the chain, how and which services or programs started on other ones, and how it evolved and what they eventually were doing in your system. And with this next-gen AV or the standard thing, you can see that sort of view only for discovered malware or this, popped up alerts. If you want to go deeper, then you need EDR, but about that in a second as well. So yeah, here we have the live response view, and it's not really like a remote desktop that you can take over and manipulate, but you can do all sorts of stuff over here. It uses it's a console connection, and it uses its own syntax to initiate commands in your endpoint. But you can also use PowerShell or Windows scripting language commands, but you have to kind of put in couple of variables over here, and then you can do it. But you can also make new directories, delete ones. You can also download stuff to your into your own machine. When you're admin, for example, you have a sandbox and you want to try out what some sort of files are doing at your endpoint. You can download those, start them in your own environment, and there you go. So next one, EDR. So EDR essentially is like a video recording machine. It records everything that is happening in your courtyard or in your endpoint in a way. And you can visualize whichever processes and attack chain events are happening in your endpoints or any other system part that is being monitored by Carbon Black. And then we had this enterprise EDR. Enterprise EDR essentially, I would look at it as a new version of regular EDR. It has pretty much the same functionality. The core functionality is pretty much the same, but there are a couple of nuances to it. There's some things are, say, more comfortable, and the main difference is that when I previously told you that the EDR was on-premise solution or hosted solution, then enterprise EDR is software as a service, and it's more incorporated into the Carbon Black Cloud environment in itself. When EDR has regular EDR has separate portal and separate management, then enterprise EDR is incorporated into Carbon Black endpoint, this whole package stuff. So it's essentially a new version of regular EDR. And what EDR does and what it monitors is stated on this slide. It monitors all file modifications, file executions, network connections, registry modifications, and it also holds copy of every executed binary, meaning executable files then. And the dashboard for it looks pretty much very similar to the regular cloud endpoint dashboard, but there are a couple of other details to it. You can see a bit more information over here. For example, when looking at, for example, processes which were initiated by some sort of binaries or executable files, you can see how many reg mods they did, file mods, network connections, and so on, or how many of child processes they initiated. And when next generation antivirus was pretty much focusing on, on the alerts or what sort of malware was discovered, then EDR focuses on everything. You can see, every single process for every single endpoint over here. Going back a slide. So when this is the regular EDR, and I have most of my slides regarding this one. When the next slide is enterprise EDR, you can see there's a bit of difference within the dashboard itself, but the core functionality is pretty much the same. Over here, you can see a bit more information. You can see also that the processes where they had watch list, hit, or alert, or whichever tied to them as well. And the interface or UI itself is a bit different as well. So yeah, when next generation antivirus and process analysis, you could see only the attack chain or something. Over here, you can see whichever process chain of whichever endpoint, and you have more detailed view. You can see what sort of child processes they initiated and how all those things are tied together. You also have binary analysis. Binary meaning any kind of executable file. In this example over here, we have putty.exe, and you can see that the file or binary, it hasn't been, or its status is unsigned, which is not always a good thing. It might indicate that there's, it might be not proper software, right? Although we know that Putty probably is, but even still. And you can see the frequency data and all the other information regarding this binary. You can see that it has been popping up in one computer in 2 different processes, meaning that either it was initiated by Windows Explorer or any other software. Manage banned hashes. In EDR, you can ban hashes. When I go back slide, you can see that this putty.exe, it does have some sort of hash tied to it. You can see right on top of it, there's MD5, which is the hash of the MD5 hash of the putty.exe. And you can take this hash and ban it from all across your environment. So when you can always, right, you can ban file names or directories, but when they start this the same program with different file name or from another directory and so on, then it still runs. But the proper way to do it is to ban hashes. Although when you know it, you can get around it as well, but it's the most effective way that we have currently. And with EDR, you can analyze all sorts of suspicious behavior, including proper programs doing improper things. For example, you can set up your alerts or watch list, sending you an notice when something is executed from recycle bin in whichever endpoint. You have some sort of auth command from PowerShell showing up, or some scripts launching from Word, or non-browsers making connections to interesting domains. Well, VMware is US company, and those examples, yeah, they're in this example. There's China or .gn, cn or .ru, and yeah, you can exclude browsers. For example, if you see that something is making, outwards connection to somewhere, but it is not initiated by Chrome or any other known program that should be doing those connections, then there's probably something wrong with it. So yeah, as mentioned, you can create watch lists that monitor that sort of activity and send you a notification when something like this pops up. You also have threat intelligence feeds. You can enable or in a way subscribe to them, and those are the ones which actually have real people, teams or communities behind those. And essentially what they do is they compare your data against their own database of possible threats or say information system trust issues or things. So yeah, from there you can also create watch lists, and they can send you notifications, but you have to be a bit careful when activating those. You have to know which one to activate, because when, for example, you have a separate help desk program and you have API connection in between your Carbon Black Cloud and your help desk, meaning that when a Carbon Black discovers something, it through API it puts up a ticket to your help desk, and when some of those intelligence feeds might be too harsh for your system, so you're gonna see overload of tickets coming. But when you know what you're doing, then yeah, it's really good thing to use. And once again, there's triage alerts. It means that the EDR in itself is say limited functionality help desk as well. It puts up the alerts or in a way tickets, and you can do whatever you like them. You can resolve them, postpone them, so on, or keep them in progress. So whoever in your security team works with those tickets or alerts, you can see which one has been resolved or are in process, and so on. Yeah, as I mentioned before as well, there's the possibility to isolate endpoint, meaning that it drops all the other network connections besides the one to Carbon Black Cloud. And also you have live response and remediation over here through EDR as well. With console, you can get access to endpoint and do whatever you need to be doing. in order to remediate the threat. So going forwards, vulnerability management. Vulnerability management essentially, as I understood it, first was it looks across all of your endpoints, and it gathers all the data of all the programs and patches and so on that you have, and combines it with a bit of machine learning magic, and essentially gives you a score or tells you which kind of patches are the ones that need to be installed immediately, which are the ones that can be postponed or so on. But what it gives you as an administrator is overview of all the say endpoint statuses across all of your information system. So you get an overview which computers have updated and which need updating and so on. So yeah, as said, it essentially takes the data that Carbon Black has gathered in regards of your system. It combines it with global threat intel from different communities, does some data science magic with it, assesses a risk score to it, and then gives it back to your dashboard, which shows what or how many machines are having which status and what are the exact endpoints that needs to be addressed. And it tries to do it a very human or simple way. It just says either, over here in this example, there's 5,008 monitored endpoints, and 11 of them are in critical state in regards of patching either your operating systems or programs running on the endpoint or whichever type of software are you using. So audit and remediation is the next one. Audit and remediation is essentially to get an overview of whichever attributes you want to get off from your system or endpoints. And it gives you a visibility, into whichever kind of information you're looking for. You can define your own queries, what to ask from endpoints, and then you get a dashboard looking dashboard looking response view in which you can see what kind of information was gathered from endpoints. It uses SQL or SQL syntax and OS query tables. If you don't really know what those are, then it's essentially a bit of a scripting language or code, and OS query tables are essentially a overview of all the information that you can actually gather from the endpoint. And why to do it? The main purposes would be to improve your IT hygiene, assess your vulnerabilities and risks, or do some threat hunting, or see if your system is compliant with your policies, say soft policies or rules that you have set up in regards of what sort of connections are machines making, what are the firewall or whichever kind of other settings in the endpoint and so on. In the downward section of the page, you can see the example query as well, which is a regular SQL query, a pretty simple one. Oh, so over here, they are asking host name, CPU, physical cores, logical cores, and physical memory from system info. System info is the mentioned table in the OS query table setup. And this is how the results are shown to you on the dashboard. You can also automate the queries. You can schedule them, and if you want to get regular updates on whichever information you want. In this example, there was a query made of which machines are running print spooler service. Whatever the reason might be that you want to know that, but yeah, you gotta that kind of possibilities. And this is also the response page, and you can, as usual, sort and filter and do a research of all the results. For example, when you have really many endpoints, maybe hundreds, then and you're looking for something specific that you didn't notice or didn't know how to define in your query in itself, then you can, do a bit of data filtering over here in the dashboard as well later on. And data retention, essentially what it is that you can extend the length of time period in which the data is being kept for you in Carbon Black Cloud. The default is 30 days. You can extend it up to 180. So those were cloud endpoint packages and the things that were within them that we covered. So now we're going to take a brief look at workload essentials and see what that offers on top of that. The things that I have grayed out over here, we're not going to go through them again, just focus on all the other stuff. So workload, yeah, this is pretty much the same as we had in the previous slide. So you can see that there's 3 different packages and every larger one or advanced one offers something more on top of the previous one. And also data retention add-on is possible over here as well. So cloud workload, what are the main benefits besides having those functionalities we saw on the table? So essentially what it is that you get the vCenter or vSphere dashboard plugin and overview in there. And also you can use Carbon Black console or dashboard, meaning that you can have different teams, for example, security teams handling and doing stuff in Carbon Black dashboard, and workload or cloud environment administrators handling stuff at vCenter. So you can see what kind of or how your workloads are protected with Carbon Black, which of those have Carbon Black sensors installed, what's going on with them, and in regards of all those things mentioned previously. So having next generation antivirus on them, EDR, and so on. So yeah, this is a screenshot how it works in the vSphere client. When activated, you can see there's Carbon Black tab over here, and you can see the overview of all of your workloads in regards of security. Another dashboard view and overview of what sort of workloads you have running OS-wise and what sort of vulnerabilities are they currently having. And this is pretty much the same view, but from the Carbon Black dashboard, as mentioned before. You can see all of those machines over here as well, but in a different console. So with these covered, we have container, Carbon Black Cloud Container, and this is for securing your containers and Kubernetes applications. Really briefly, if you're not really familiar with container stuff, with a couple of sentences, well, usually, or in the beginning of time, we had this, we had hardware and we had OS stuff installed right on top of it. Then after that came virtualization. We had so hardware server, we had virtualization platform installed on top of it, and then we had all the different operating systems, virtualized on it. And container technologies are next step from there. So on top of those virtualized machines, you can run containers which kind of use the same virtualized resource, but it's much more efficient and it's a service-based approach to this whole thing. For example, when you develop your own program in-house, previously you had to set up a new operating system for it and so on. So currently you just have to set up container with certain prerequisites or certain specifications, and you can run multiple programs from one machine using the same resource. And it's much more effective in that way. And when you have continuous integration or continuous development processes in place as well, you can use cloud container security to integrate the security processes into them as well. So yeah, there's also the dashboard that you can see now. So you can see Kubernetes itself, which workload has what sort of risk going on with it, and so on. Another overview of the images that you have included into your repository, and you can see what sort of vulnerabilities, or the overview of vulnerabilities and fixes and stuff for it. And you can also manage memory limits or CPU limits through policies on your particular image, so they wouldn't use too much and so on. And there's also another different set of rules that you can apply to those policies as well through Carbon Black Cloud container. With container done, we have app control left. So app control is exactly what it says. It's for application control. You can monitor what sort of applications are allowed to run at your endpoints and which are not allowed to run. And you can ask, or you can set up it in a way that when new application is being run first time from whichever endpoint, your admins first need to approve it, and you can approve it across all of your organization or for only one endpoint, or whichever way you seem fit. And the main features or why to use app control is you can organize your endpoints through policies. For example, you have maybe different departments in your company, for example, I don't know, bookkeeping, IT, and so on, and you probably want to have different policies or rules set to their endpoints or computers. This is an example of policy and policy editing. And you can choose whichever type of things you wanna, apply to those endpoint. You can apply, I don't know, there's memory rules, registry rules, banned file names. You can also ban or block files via hashes over here as well, and so on. There's an overview of all the endpoints or computers, and as usual with that kind of programs, you can see either they have connected, updated their policies, all that sort of good stuff. Then we have baseline drift. So you can set up a baseline for your endpoints. For example, you want to set up a baseline for, let's say accounting or bookkeeping people, and you can set up that their computer profile should look like this. And whenever you see a drift from it, you can get an overview of or notices of what sort of drift is happening. So that, for example, when you have, I don't know, 10 computers under that policy or under that baseline, and 3 of them have been showing of using programs called Tetris or whatever, you see that there's a drift there. Although the baseline drift is not really all that important when you block everything, then it doesn't really matter. When the bookkeeping people still can install stuff into their computer, then the baseline drift is good to keep track of. Yeah, and that is that for app control. And as I mentioned before, all of this is delivered via one lightweight sensor, which is set up in each endpoint. And so you don't have to have different things for EDR, antivirus, and so on. It's all done through one single sensor. And this carbon black, it's also incorporated into some other VMware products as well. For example, VMware Workspace ONE. Workspace ONE in itself is a digital platform that delivers and manages any app on any device, essentially. And VMware Workspace, no, sorry, VMware Horizon is a platform for running and delivering virtual desktops and applications across a hybrid cloud. So Carbon Black could be a part of those packages or products as well. And what about MDM or MTT? MDM is mobile device management, or MTT is mobile threat defense solutions. Unfortunately, I have to say, Carbon Black currently doesn't have anything named Carbon Black for those purposes. But what VMware does have is Workspace ONE and more specifically Workspace ONE UEM, which is Unified Endpoint Management. If you know the brand AirWatch from history, then this is essentially it. VMware bought AirWatch many years ago by now and incorporated the functionalities and have developed it into their own products, Workspace ONE in this case. And on top of Workspace ONE, when addressing the question of mobile threat defense, then VMware is doing cooperation with Lookout. And Lookout is the security provider for mobile endpoints, so Androids and iPhones and so on. And this is where VMware they're doing really good collaboration with Lookout to get that field covered as well. Here are some references who are actually using Carbon Black locally, meaning Baltics. Carbon Black Cloud, it is used within a bit larger companies and or enterprises. For example, there are a few hospitals using Carbon Black across Baltics, and also a couple financial institutions, including a bank operating in all of the in our whole region. But to be totally honest with you over here, Carbon Black Cloud is a bit more enterprise or corporate oriented solution. It does give you a lot of tools and good options to handle all the security stuff, but it's not for small companies. And one indicator of that is the fact that the initial purchase for most of the stuff is 100 licenses as well. And when asking VMware how large companies are usually using Carbon Black, then they say that our average size is multiple hundreds, say 400 to 500 endpoints per company. Although when with this day of age of virtualization, almost every company might have hundreds of endpoints, when you have loads of virtualized machines. So there's that. And when you would like to know a bit more in detail about how the dashboard actually looks like or operates, or want to get a live demo or discuss a bit more in regards of Carbon Black, then you can contact me or Andrews, and we have loads of VMware people or contacts to VMware that we can include to those conversations as well. So yeah, when you try to answer the question of do you know which servers and endpoints contain vulnerabilities, and the answer might be maybe, no, I don't know, then Carbon Black might be a solution to consider or to take a deeper look into. Yeah, thank you. That's it for the slideshow. I don't know if we have any questions or anything over here.
We had only one question. It's already answered.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you all so much for listening. And I don't know, Andreas, if you have any other comments or things to say at this point.
Okay, thanks everybody for your attendance. If you won't get your Vault voucher till the Monday, so contact me because there is a couple of people that we cannot recognize. So thanks and see you soon. Okay. Bye.
Goodbye.